Hello, everyone, and welcome to, what is this, the fifth Pony AI shoot show, where we take an AI, tell it to act like a pony, and go on an adventure, essentially. Alright, I guess space adventure it is. The airlock door to the Encore hisses open with the sound of hydraulics, with the vessel's own captain descending the ramp to greet their newest member waiting just outside, her crew following just behind. Ah, there's our number 5. You must be anonymous, she says, wearing the assured grin of a captain, even as the collar of her bodysuit is creased on one side. I'm sure I need no introduction, but just in case, I am the one and only, the legendary, the feared and admired across the galaxy, the brave and daring Captain Trixie, she says with much bravado, throwing a hoof in the air dramatically. Oh, and this is Starlight, Spike, and Derpy, she adds, gesturing to the gunner, navigator, and engineer respectively. The Pegasus engineer gives a friendly wave hello, while the young dragon rolls his eyes at the dramatic introduction but stays silent. Now, I know it may be intimidating working for such an esteemed pony as I, but I assure you that beneath my incredible skill, unmatchable wit, brilliant mind, and stunning beauty, I'm just like any other pony. She puts a hoof to her chest, putting on her best coy smile as if she hadn't just bragged wildly about herself. She turns and begins walking back up the ramp of the Encore, gesturing with the hoof for you to follow her onto her ship. Now come along, Anonymous. We have things to discuss about your role in our crew. Alright, and that is where we begin. Votes obviously rigged by BGM. I was crossing my fingers for that option. So is her wagon now a spaceship? Yes. And this one, she is the captain of a spaceship in a sci-fi setting. We stand outside the spaceship. She just invited us aboard since we are her newest member on the crew. What do? The great and powerful Trixie does not trust landing gear. Get space cream. Ask her about pay. Alright, sure, we can do that. Anon follows Trixie, and her crew aboard her ship. The ramp retracting as they enter. I don't know. I guess we don't need to overcomplicate it. We can just leave it at something like that and see where we go. Oh, don't you worry about that, Anon, Trixie says with a dismissive wave of her hoof as she leads you through the interior of the Encore. The Explorers Initiative pays well for our daring escapades. Well, maybe not too well, but we get by. She adds with a shrug. I mean, I'm sure it's nothing compared to what a captain of my legendary status should be making, but at least it keeps the Encore fueled and flying. Passing by a particularly fried electrical panel with a hastily applied duct tape, Trixie quickly steps in front of it to block it from your view. Anyway, your quarters will be just down there, she says, changing the subject quickly as she leads you down the hallway to the crew cabins. Are we a space Janny? We're a space something. We haven't been told our role yet. Trixie plays an exposure. You should be thanking Trixie to have your name plastered next to hers. I'm thinking of maybe swapping this one because it didn't acknowledge the fact that Trixie said she had things to talk about. You hear that, Girls in Spike? Anonymous here wants to know about bits, she exclaims to the crew with a short laugh, kicking a hoof up to one of the chairs on the ship's bridge as she turns to address you once more. I like your priorities, newbie. The pay is great, don't you worry your little head about that. She waves a hoof dismissively. You'll get your cut of our totally legitimate cargo profits, no problem, just like the rest of the crew. Starlight shoots the captain a disapproving look. If by legitimate you mean barely legal, then sure, Trixie, she says with a roll of her eyes, knowing full well that their line of work tends to walk the razor-thin line between legal transport and outright smuggling. The unicorn's horn glows softly with magic as she levitates a datapad in front of her, inspecting a long list of incoming and outgoing shipments. I think we should focus on the mission at Hoof, Captain. Sounds like we should ask what our job is. We probably should. The one before this one. Ask who's our current client. Yeah, I think asking about priorities and stuff is probably a good idea. The music reminds me of Lego stop motion videos. It was probably used in one. It's a lot of stock Kevin McLeod stuff that's just used in everything. Alright, that's all fine and dandy, but you haven't told me what my role is in the crew even is yet. And it says with a raised eyebrow. Oh, right. That. The captain's face flushes slightly in embarrassment, realizing her own oversight. Well, since you're the new pony around here, you'll be our, She pauses, glancing to the others as if hoping they'll fill in the blank for her. Which they don't. Or when they don't, she clears her throat. Our resident odd job doer. Yeah, that's it. You handle all the little things around the ship that need doing. Cleaning, cooking, laundry, you name it. Sound good? She grins wide. Starlight face hoofs. Captain, that's not a real position. I already have the ship's maintenance droids for that stuff. The purple unicorn points out flatly. Anonymous is supposed to be our new security officer, remember? They're here to help keep the ship and crew safe. I knew that. I was just testing you all, Trixie says quickly. But yes, security officer. That's your job. Welcome aboard. She extends a hoof to Shake. We really are a space Jenny, I guess so. Unpaid intern. A great and humble Trixie has many enemies, which you do not need to concern yourself with. What exactly is the first mission of the Encore, Captain? And what do you expect the ship will be needing protection from? Oh, you know, the usual stuff that spacefaring adventurers like us have to deal with. Space pirates, alien monsters, maybe the occasional run-in with the space police. Spike scoffs under his breath. We're smugglers, not adventurers. Let's just call it what it is. The captain immediately rounds on the dragon, glaring. Hey, zip it, lizard boy. Nobody doesn't need to hear that, she says in a harsh whisper. Composing herself, she grins at you once more. Point is, it's a dangerous galaxy out there, and we need somebody to keep the riffraff of the Encore. That's where you come in. So, Derpy chimes in, raising a hoof. What's the plan, Captain? The plan, right. Plan is, she glances around before pointing at the star map. There. We're going there, wherever that is. Spike should have Scottish accent. We're smugglers, not adventurers. Derpy's in the crew. Please don't tell me she's our load officer. She's the engineer. Don't worry, she handles repairs. So Trixie just pointed to a random location. I guess we should give it one more response to figure out what she just pointed to. Trixie frowns at the star map, tapping a hoof to her chin as she squints at the glowing display, as if doing so would somehow make the destination clearer. Navigator Spike, what exactly is that anyway? She asks, glancing over her shoulder at the baby dragon. Spike sighs and hops up from his seat, waddling over to the map. It's the Horsehead Nebula, Trixie. You picked it, she points out, tapping a claw on the swirling purple clouds displayed on the screen. I knew that. I was just testing you. Trixie huffs, turning her nose up at him before looking back to you. Anyway, heading to the Horsehead Nebula to pick up a shipment of perfectly legal goods to transport, she says with an unconvincing grin. Should be a nice, simple job for your first outing with us, Anonymous. Starlight raises an eyebrow at that. I thought the contact wanted to meet us in the Crab Nebula, not the Horsehead, the first mate points out. Trixie blinks, glancing between Starlight and the map a few times before groaning and throwing her hooves up with an exasperation. Okay, fine, so I forgot exactly where we're going. Sue me, she grumbles, trotting over to her captain's chair and plopping down in it with a huff. Not my fault all these nebulas look the same. Just chart a course to the Crab Nebula so we can get this over with. The engineer is engineer. The engineer is engineer. Derpy is an engineer. That's doing me concern. She does a great job. Sue her, get a space lawyer. Everybody else who wants to sue Trixie, get in line. Before we begin our adventure, Anon heads off to his personal quarters to change into his, what would it be, spacesuit, I guess, to his spacesuit. Point out that her incompetence is a security risk and use our position to take over. We already doing a mutiny, overthrowing Trixie on her own ship. Nominate Derpy as the captain. Make her walk the space plank. I'd like to ask about weapons on ship or on hand to protect with. Alright, sure, we can do that as well. Heading back out onto the bridge, the ship begins lifting off onto its charted course. By the way, Captain, I'm gonna be working as security for this vessel. Then I'd like to know what I'm working with. Can you give me a rundown on weapons, both personal and ship mounted, that we're working with here? Great thing about mutiny is if we succeed, it's our ship. Oh, we've got weapons, all right, Trixie says with a grin, spinning around in her captain's chair to face you. For personal protection, you've got your standard issue plasma pistol and electro baton. She nods to the holstered weapon and stun rod hanging from your spacesuit's belt. As for the ship, we've got a grand total of 4 whole post laser turrets. The Unicorn Captain announces with pride. Spike can't help but snicker at that. 4 pea shooters, she means. The Encore is built for running away, not standing and fighting, the dragon ports out, earning a glare from Trixie. They are not pea shooters, they're state-of-the-art, Trixie protests. From like 20 years ago, but still. What the captain means is, Starlight interjects, stepping forward, we're not a battle cruiser, Anonymous. We're a small transport vessel. Those turrets are meant as a last resort to punch a hole in whatever's after us so we can jump to warp and escape. Ideally, your job is to stop any pony from boarding us and causing trouble in the first place. Well said, Starlight. Trixie chimes in with a nod. See, newbie? We'll be fine. With me in the captain's chair, Derpy in the G-room, Starlight on weapons, Spike navigating, and you on security, We're pretty much invincible. Notices your stun rod. Oh no. Mutinize, then sue her for her incompetence. Claim she should not have allowed the crew to take control of it. We are conducting a mutiny. A mutiny? On what grounds? Failure to prevent a mutiny. What did Trixie said? We're going to the Crab Nebula to pick up a shipment. The Encore lifts off and flies its path with Trixie at the helm, headed to the Crab Nebula. I'd like to request we find a way to get Spike to walk the plank. Talk about smooth sailing. Nothing but clear skies from here to the Crab Nebula, Trixie boasts from the helm. The stars streaking by on the main view screen as the Encore cruises through hyperspace. The captain leans back in her seat, kicking her hind hooves up on the console in a relaxed posture. Starlight frowns slightly at the readouts on her terminal. I wouldn't get too comfortable, Captain. Our long-range sensors are picking up some kind of a spatial anomaly directly near our flight path. Blah. We might want to alter course to avoid it. Anomaly schmomaly. Trixie scoffs, waving a dismissive hoof. Probably just some stray nebula gas or something. Hold our course steady. The brave and heroic Trixie isn't afraid of a little space turbulence. Rumble, rumble. The entire ship suddenly shudders violently as it collides with the outer edges of the spatial distortion. The entire ship suddenly are you freaking serious? The entire ship suddenly shudders, that is a tongue twister, violently as it collides with the outer edges of the spatial distortion. Trixie yelps in alarm, nearly tumbling out of her chair. The shaking grows worse by the second as consoles spark and alarms blare across the bridge. Oh good, it's one of those haptics feedback ships where everything that bad that happens to the ship explodes the freaking consoles. I just don't know what went wrong, Derpy cries out from the engine room. We've lost power to the warp drive, shutting it down before it melts into slag. The Grey Pegasus reports over the comms. Spike, get us out of hyperspace, now! Starlight orders over the chaos. The dragon gnaws, claws flying across the navigation console to execute an emergency hyperspace dropout. The distorted streaks of light collapse back into stationary stars as the Encore lurches back into normal space, coming to a dead halt. The ship now completely adrift as the warp drive goes cold. Damage report, Trixie calls out, trying to sound commanding to hide the nervous waver in her voice. Somebody tell me where we are. His idea was to put Derpy on engines. She's doing great. You see what happens when you let Derpy be the engineer? This is what happens. Alright, so we are adrift in space, our warp drive is out, and we are stuck with standard thrusters after Trixie brave and boldly flew us through some kind of space turbulence. So what do we do for now? We could maybe go and try to help Derpy get whatever is broken repaired, or we could stick to our post as security. Maybe try to prod Trixie for some kind of plan. Seeing the rapidly declining situation, Ganon rushes to join Derpy in the engine room, ready to help with repairs in any way he can. It's the status, what broke, and we'll leave it at that. Trixie, fire all phasers! Activate backup power and turn on reverse thrusters. Turn on tactical space meteor field shields. This is definitely not things I'm making up on, and all totally real. Initiate the particle reversers. Tell Derpy to turn the engines off and on again. Set phasers to fix. Can imagine Trixie firing all phasers at the direction of where the anomaly was, kind of like a take that, you stupid anomaly, while she pouts. This Trixie definitely would do something like that. Hope Anna's qualified enough for warp drive repairs. Me too. Trixie gallops into engineering. Derpy, what's going on down here? Please tell me when you can fix the warp drive. I'm trying, Captain, but it's bad. The primary plasma conduits are completely fried. We need to replace them before we even think about jumping to warp again, the Pegasus engineer reports, her face smudged with soot as she pulls her head out of an open maintenance app. Okay, so it just ignored us, I think. Well, actually, no, let's read on. But there's an even bigger problem. That spatial anomaly did a real number on the Encore's hull. We've got microfractures all along the outer plating, and it's slowly venting atmosphere. What? Venting atmosphere? The captain exclaims in a panic, eyes wide. But if we're venting air, that means we're slowly losing life support. Derpy nods grimly. If we don't seal those cracks and restore pressure soon, we'll all suffocate. Trixie says, shaking and hyperventilating. I don't like that it's doing the freaking asterisk for the describing the actions. That bothers me a lot when it switches to that. Derpy puts her hooves on Trixie's shoulders. Stay with me, Captain. We'll figure this out. Anonymous is here to help too. Trixie looks to you desperately on the verge of tear. Please, Anonymous, you gotta help us. I don't want to die out here. We're surrounded. Fire all phasers. Destroy it. Destroy the space? Alright, the asterisks bother me. I'm gonna give it one more swipe to see if it can stay consistent with the writing style at least. Trixie is in a panic, galloping in circles around the bridge while the alarms blare and sparks fly from the consoles. It's all over! We're done for! Game over, everybody! The captain wails dramatically, hooves pressed to the sides of her head. We're all gonna die out here! Nobody will even find our bodies! Starlight, Captain, calm down! Starlight snaps, glaring at the blue unicorn. We're not dead yet. Just let Derpy and Anonymous assess the damage before you go start writing our obituaries. Spike rolls his eyes and checks the navigation charts. Near as I can tell, the anomaly threw us way off course. We're in this rolling cascade sector, light years away from where we're supposed to be. Meanwhile, in engineering, Derpy flutters around the warp core housing, squinting at readouts and displays with a deep frown while Anonymous joins her. It's not good, Derpy says with worry, turning to you and showing you a fried power coupling in her hooves. The metal's scorched and warped. The spatial distortion overloaded the plasma manifold. It's completely slagged. We're not going anywhere at warp without a replacement. Blah. Over the ship's comm, Trixie's voice suddenly cuts through. Anonymous, tell me you and Derpy can get us flying again. I don't want to be stranded out here. Raise shields, and calibrate to be dense enough to contain gaseous substances. We can at least prevent it from being vented into space. Now that's a captain's order right there. Alright, you know what? Fine, we can do that. Trixie bites her lip, the gravity of the situation starting to sink in. She nods jerkily, fumbling a hoof over the comm controls. Right, I knew that. Raising shields and making them extra dense, like you said. She flips the switch, and outside, the faint shimmer of the Encore's protective barrier flickers into existence around the hull, its hue shifting towards a more opaque blue as it's reconfigured for atmospheric containment. Down in engineering, Derpy shakes her head sadly at Anonymous. I'm afraid not. The manifold coupling is a highly specialized part. We don't carry spares. Pegasus sighs, fluttering over to a storage locker and pulling it open with a hoof. And all the repair tools and materials we have in hoof aren't meant for fixing something that badly damaged. Oh, so we're screwed then. We're screwed. Alright, bad end. Good work, everyone. We tried our best. We're going to die adrift in space. There may be a planet with a breathable atmosphere and a reasonable distance. That's a good point. Should be able to find something before rations run out and you're forced to, get inventive. Oh no. We eat the lizard first. Something plasma broken in the warp drive, and we have a plasma blaster on our belt. That's worth a check. My Star Trek obsession is kicking in. They're firing lasers, sir. Alright, a perfect tie. I swear it feels like you guys do this on purpose sometimes. Find it funny that nobody noticed that the leaking atmosphere was in the old message that got removed. In the new, it's just the plasma manifold. Oh shit, was it? For jury rigging with plasma blaster parts. Danan mulls over the options for a moment before coming up with an idea. You're sure it's just the plasma manifold that got overloaded? He asks before pulling out his plasma blaster from the holster on his waist. He looks over before coming to a decision. Plasma blasters have a smaller version of the, I don't know, plasma something regulator. A smaller version of the plasmic regulator to fire. It wouldn't last long with the power of a ship running through it, but if we could jury rig it and on trails off, leaving the implication, I don't know. Sounds just as plausible as turning a digital alarm clock into a laser pointer. Yeah, it's all electronics, right? It's all interchangeable. Derpy's eyes widen at Anonymous's suggestion. That's so clever. I would have never thought of that, the Pegasus engineer exclaims, clapping her hooves together excitedly. We can bypass the damaged power coupling using your plasma pistol's regulator as a bridge. We might be able to restore partial warp functionality, at least enough to limp to the nearest port for proper repairs. The gray mare takes the blaster from you carefully in her hooves, popping open an access panel on its side. Her tongue pokes out the side of her mouth as she focuses, delicately extracting the small plasmic regulator with a pair of needle-nose pliers. Got it! She grins, holding up the component triumphantly. Alright, let's get this installed and see if it works. Can you unscrew the maintenance hatch for me while I prep the regulator for bridging? Derpy asks, nodding her head towards a panel on the side of the warp core housing. She trots over to a nearby toolkit, rummaging around for the rest of the tools and materials needed for this unconventional repair job. Meanwhile, up on the bridge, Trixie is still a nervous wreck, pacing back and forth. What is taking them so long down there? The captain grumbles, tail flicking in agitation. I swear, if we end up stranded out here, I'm docking every pony's pay. Solid and Spike share a look and sigh in unison. It's going to be a long shift. So Derpy thinks it might last for like at least one jump. So we could try that once the repair is finished. One jump to the Changeling sector and trade someone off for warp core parts. We do not do pony trading here. You got it. And it says grabbing nearby screwdriver with the panel removed. I guess it's up to Derpy to finish the repairs. I don't know, you got this, we'll say. Go full space magic and tell Trixie to cast a teleport spell on our ship. Destination anywhere but here. I highly doubt Trixie could summon enough magic to teleport a spaceship several light years. I think that's being a little, what's the word? Optimistic? Beads of sweat start to form on Derpy's brow as she cautiously maneuvers the makeshift plasmic regulator into place, her hooves surprisingly steady despite her nerves. She has to get this right, for the fate of the ship and every pony aboard is counting on her. Easy does it, the Pegasus mutters under her breath, tongue poking out the side of her mouth in concentration. With the utmost care, she slots the jury-rigged component into the gap left by the fried power coupling. Grabbing some tools in her mouth, Derpy starts securing it in place as best she can with a combination of spot welds and good old-fashioned duct tape. With the repairs complete, Derpy takes a step back and wipes her brow with a hoof. Phew! Think that should do it, Anonymous. Now we just gotta power her back up and see if she holds together. The engineer pony flutters over to a terminal, the screen flickering fitfully as she enters the command to boot up the warp core back up. The entire engineering deck thumbs as the mighty engine struggles to ignite, sounding rough and unsteady without its proper parts. After a nerve-wracking few seconds, the warp core springs to life with a mighty whoosh as the reactor fires up, bathing the room in an eerie blue glow. Blah, fucking hell. In an eerie blue glow. The ship's lights return to full brightness as main power is restored. Woohoo! We did it! Derpy cheers, pumping a hoof in the air triumphantly before pulling you into an impulsive hug. We make a pretty good repair team! Just then, the entire ship lurches forward and the unmistakable thumb of the warp drive spooling up reverberates through the deck plates. Looks like Trixie decided to immediately put the engines to the test by jumping to warp the second they showed signs of life. You idiot! No! We should probably run to the cockpit and, I don't know, do something. I wouldn't trust Trixie to save us. This Trixie will teleport us into space just sheerly by accident. Manually disengage the engines from the core feed. I guess that's a good idea. I mean, Trixie won't like being overridden, but... Hoof steps of Anonymous and Derpy echo through the corridors as they gallop towards the bridge, the ship settling back down as the warp drive spools down once more thanks to Alan's quick thinking with the emergency shutoff. As the doors slide open with a whoosh, Trixie whirls around in the captain's chair to face them, a look of indignation on her muzzle. Oh boy, here we go. What's the big idea, cutting the engines like that? I was just about to get us back on course, the unicorn protests, pointing an accusing hoof at Anonymous. How does she know it was me? Derpy steps forward before Anon can reply, shaking her head. Captain, we can't push the warp drive too hard right now. The repair we made is only temporary. If we strain it too much, it'll blow out, and then we'll really be stuck. The Pegasus engineer explains, her wings fluttering nervously. Trixie grumbles and crosses her forelegs over her chest, pouting like a filly denied her favorite toy. Well, how was I supposed to know that? She huffs. I thought you two fixed it. Starlight sighs and steps over to Trixie, putting a calming hoof on her withers. They did their best, Captain, but we're not out of the nebula yet. We need to get it to a starport for proper repairs, and fast. The unicorn turns to Spike expectantly. Spike, are there any ports or settlements in range of our current position? Someplace we can limp to at sublight speeds if we have to? The baby dragon nods, already tapping away at his console to bring up the local star charts. Scanning now. With any luck, there should be an outpost or space station somewhere in this sector we can dock at. We have the rod of good order and discipline. Do not bonk the Trixie. That will accomplish nothing. All this was caused, by the way, by Trixie just deciding to fly through a storm we could have gone around, basically. A cosmic storm. So this was entirely just a bad call. That was completely unnecessary and totally avoidable. I'm gonna head back down to the engine room to re-engage the thrusters. Please don't put us into another hasty jump. That's gonna disintegrate our warp core repair. Anon says for heading down and flipping the thrusters back on. You can see my OA4 flashbacks. What do you mean, careful? I'm the brave and daring Trixie. I'm always careful. The unicorn insists indignantly as Anon heads back down to engineering. She turns to Starlight with a huff. Can you believe the nerve of that human telling me how to fly my own ship? Starlight just rolls her eyes. He's got a point, Trixie. We need to take it slow until we can get some real repairs done. Pushing our luck is what got us stranded out here in the first place, remember? Before Trixie can argue further, Spike speaks up urgently from the navigation console. Guys? I found a settlement, but you're not gonna like it. Oh shit, the AI just did it on its own, it's listening. The baby dragon gulps nervously. It's a changeling outpost. Changelings? Trixie squeaks, her bravado faltering. The shape-shifting insectoid ponies of Chrysalis's hive aren't exactly known for their hospitality. Starlight frowns, but nods grimly. It may be our only choice. We'll just have to hope they're willing to trade with us for the parts we need. Tapping a hoof to the ship's intercom, the unicorn starts contacts engineering. Derpy, Anonymous, set a course for the Changeling outpost. But keep us at low warp, no more than warp 2. Slow and steady. Down in engineering, the warp core thumbs back to life as Anonymous restores power. The Encore lurches forward, the shimmering tunnel of hyperspace visible once more through the viewports as it limps along at low warp speeds towards the distant Changeling settlement. Looks like the crew of the Encore aren't out of the nebula just yet. What's our plan here? I feel like we should say something here, make some kind of suggestion. This is probably a really, really bad idea to go just assuming that the Changelings are gonna let us get our repairs and leave. Actually, maybe we should ask Trixie for a plan. See if she has any idea of what the hell we're gonna do here. At the, what do we say? Bleak report from Spike's scan. Anon turns to Trixie, desperately hoping she knows what she's doing. Trixie, Changelings really, really don't like ponies. Please tell me you have a plan to get our repairs without getting forced into slavery or something. We offer up Glint Glam for the Hide Queen or promise to get her Twilight. Ooh, that could be interesting. Trixie blinks, momentarily taken aback by Annon's blunt question. Of course I have a plan, she insists, though her grin falters a little. I always have a plan. I'm the brave and daring Trixie, after all. The blue unicorn trots over to the comm panel, leaning to transmit a message to engineering. Derpy, once we arrive to the outpost, I need you to stay aboard the Encore and work on keeping our repairs stable. The rest of us are going to head out to find the parts we need. Trixie orders, her tone betraying a hint of nervousness despite her confident words. Turning back to the crew assembled on the bridge, the captain clears her throat, putting on a brave face. All right, everybody, listen up. When we dock at the Changeling port, let me do the talking. I'll handle the negotiating of our replacement plasma manifold. Spike raises a claw skeptically. No offense, Trixie, but you're not exactly known for your diplomacy. Maybe Starlight should take the lead on this one. Absolutely not, Trixie huffs indignantly. I'm the captain, I say I'm handling it, she declares before grinning slyly. Besides, you're forgetting one crucial detail. Changelings are masters of deception. But so am I. It takes a trickster to deal with tricksters. Starlight groans, face hooving. Got a bad feeling about this, the unicorn mutters, her glowing horn flicking through hollow screens detailing Changeling customs and trading etiquette, trying to prepare for the negotiations ahead. After a tense hour limping through space, the misty green orb of the Changeling outpost finally comes into view through the viewports. Dozens of organic chitinous structures cling to asteroids and make up the majority of the settlement. Ships of all kinds flitting between them like busy insects. Well, this is it. Everybody remember the plan? Trixie asks, glancing around her crew as Spike guides the ship towards an open docking bay. I guess we are negotiating with them. Who could it be? Trixie is the most incompetent captain, while Derpy is a highly capable engineer. It is kind of funny, isn't it? So they're seemingly not evil, just sneaky, tricksy, and deceptive. Guess we'll find out. Derpy has to be a good engineer. She's wall-eyed and still has all her limbs. That's true. Anand takes a deep breath, steadying himself for whatever comes of this perilous transaction. Changeling vessels of all kinds clearly begin taking notice as our unfamiliar ship approaches for landing, but nothing outright hostile yet. The unfamiliar ship approaches for landing, circling, and we'll just say circling with a watchful eye, but nothing outright hostile yet. This is not going to go well. Well, let the nice bug pony see our bits. Okay, wording, Trixie, she demands. I don't know if I like this response. I feel like we could do better. Feels like I just made it a regular space station, but also there's bugs. All right, crew, this is it. Time to put on our bravest faces and show those changelings what we're made of. Trixie declares with a dramatic flurry of her hoof as the Encore touches down in the alien docking bay with a slight shudder. The boarding ramp lowers with a hiss of hydraulics, and the intrepid quartet of Trixie, Starlight, Spikes, and Anonymous descend onto the strange organic-looking deck plates below. Derpy stays behind in the ship to monitor their precarious warp drive situation. Changeling drones buzz to and fro across the hangar, some pausing to eye the unfamiliar equine and human visitors with suspicion. Two armed guards with jagged spears approach from a nearby security checkpoint. Halt! State your business here, outsiders! One of the guards hisses through fanged teeth, green compound eyes narrowing at Trixie. That's more what I was expecting. The unicorn captain swallows nervously but puts on a winning smile. Greetings, O gracious changeling hosts. I am the brave and indomitable Captain Trixie, and these are my loyal crewmates, she announces with a grand bow. The changeling soldiers share a skeptical look before the lead guard speaks again. Charmed. Now why are you here, Pony? We don't get many of your kind visiting our settlement. Now I'm just going into Malice Spark. We don't get many of your kind visiting our settlement. Trixie clears her throat. Oh, well, you see, our ship has suffered some minor damage, and we were hoping to purchase a replacement plasma manifold for our warp drive. Just a simple transaction between spacefaring species, nothing more. The guards frown, considering. After a long moment, the lead one grunts and steps aside. Fine. You may enter the trade bazaar, but be warned. Any funny business and you'll be entering directly to Queen Chrysalis. Are we clear? Crystal, Trixie grins, though her smile doesn't quite reach her eyes. She turns to the others as they pass the checkpoint. See? Told you I could handle it. Stick close, everybody, and keep your eyes peeled for that plasma manifold. The sooner we get out of here, the better. Tries to change things almost sound like Snape. Going into Malice Park, what is this? Yeah, I think that's a lot better. Feels more fitting rather than just, it's a space station, but also there's bugs. So, we now have access to the trading area. I do kind of want to, I'll be honest, I want to lead it into the negotiating directly with Trixie idea, because I think it would be fun to lead into that. And end up having to get Chrysalis Twilight Sparkle and trade for freedom or something. Let the ponies do the trading and we keep watch on everyone. Alright. Anon follows the group closely behind, keeping a watchful eye on any changelings nearby as he lets ponies handle the trading. Oh shoot, we don't have our blaster either. Alright, let's see if Trixie doesn't get us into trouble. The crew of the Encore make their way through the alien bazaar. Trixie in the lead with her nose in the air, exuding an air of false confidence. Starlet and Spike flank her, looking around warily at the various changeling merchants and their wares. Anonymous brings up the rear, one hand never straying too far from his blaster. We might still have the blaster, but it just doesn't work. Assuming we don't use it, I think it's fine. The market is a cacophony of strange sights, sounds, and smells. Dozens of stalls line the organic honeycombed streets, selling everything from ship parts to exotic foods to things less pleasant and more illicit. The occasional non-changeling spacer can be seen here and there amidst the chittering insectoid crowds, but ponies are distinctly rare. Focus, every pony! Look for anything that resembles a plasma manifold, Trixie says through the corner of her mouth, trying to maintain her casual demeanor as they pass a particularly burly changeling soldier on patrol. Solid Torn glows as she levitates a datapad showing a diagram of the part they need. It'll probably be in a stall selling starship components. Look for any pony advertising drives, thrusters, power cords, things like that. Spike nervously eyes a case full of ominous red crystals as they pass an edgy-looking weapons vendor. Trixie? Maybe we should split up to cover more ground. No! We're attracting an awful lot of attention bunched up like this. Indeed, many of the changeling shoppers are starting to take notice of the colorful pony crew. Some with suspicion and others with... oh man, what is that word? Avaricious interest? That is not one I've seen before. Having a showing an extreme greed for wealth. Okay, so greedy interest. The low buzz of insectoid wings and whispers seem to follow them as they delve deeper into the strange bazaar. Trixie glances around, seeing the hungry looks being thrown her way. She shivers slightly despite herself. Stick together for now. I don't want us getting lost or worse pony napped in this place. Let's check that big stall over there, the one with all the engine parts. The unicorn leads the way towards a large booth festooned with all manner of mechanical components, manned by a rather corpulent changeling in merchant attire. Ooh, customers! Equine customers, no less. How delightful! The rotund bug pony trills in a reedy voice, rubbing his hooves together. What does reedy mean? Please do come browse my wares.
I'm sure I have something to suit your needs, for a price, of course.
Trixie puts on her most dazzling smile, turning up the charm as she approaches the merchant.
But of course, my good sir. I'm sure a purveyor of fine ship parts such as yourself would have just the item we're looking for. Tell me, do you happen to have any plasma manifolds in stock?
The changeling merchant gasps dramatically.
Plasma manifolds? Oh, you are in luck, my dear. I just so happen to have a shipment fresh off the freighter. Highest quality, I assure you. But,
He leans in, eyes gleaming craftily.
Such valuable components don't come cheap, especially for outsiders like yourselves. I'm afraid the price might be a bit steep for you.
Trixie's eye twitches and it cut off there. Credit shouldn't be an issue. Just name your price. I'll say that, and the reason for it is I'm trying to goad the eye into a response like,
oh, we're not interested in credits here.
Because I'm sure that's probably the direction it's going to go. And it says, keeping a professional tone. Whoops. Trixie's eye twitches slightly at Anonymous's casual offer, but she manages to keep her composure, turning back to the merchant with a smile. Changeling chuckles, a greedy glint in his eye.
Oh, well, aren't you a bold one? Very well, then. He rubs his hooves together, leaning over the counter. For such distinguished customers, I could be persuaded to part with one of my premium manifolds for, oh, let's say 50,000 credits.
Starlight nearly chokes at the exorbitant price.
50,000? That's highway robbery!
The unicorn blurts out before she can stop herself. The merchant narrows his eyes.
You're welcome to take your business elsewhere, pony, but I doubt you'll find better stock than mine in this whole sector.
He smirks knowingly. Trixie laughs nervously, laying a hoof on Starlight's wither.
Now, I'm sure we can come to an arrangement.
She smiles at the changeling, though it's strained.
50,000 is a bit steep, though, even for quality parts. What say we make it an even 30,000, but good bug.
The merchant taps his fanged teeth, considering.
I suppose I could be talked down to 45,000. That's not a credit, but not a credit less. These manifolds are the finest the hive has to offer.
Spike grimaces, claws balling into fists. He doesn't like where this haggling is going. Bug spray time. Anon glares down at the manifold with a scrutinizing eye. Doesn't look so great to me. How can you prove it's as good as you say? Oh, that is risky, Hazy. Make fun of his leg holes. We'll probably just get beat up by changelings if we try that stuff. The merchant frowns deeply, clearly insulted by Anonymous's insinuation about his wares.
How dare you question the quality of my stock? I'll have you know each and every pot here is rigorously tested and held to the highest of changeling engineering standards.
The corpulent bug pony huffs, crossing his forelegs.
But if you insist on being difficult, I suppose I could let you inspect the manifold yourself before buying, just to prove its worth, of course.
Trixie grins, nodding eagerly.
That sounds more than fair, my good merchant. We'd be happy to take a look.
She turns to Anon and Derpy, giving them a... Derpy isn't with us. Swipe.
Aha, an astute question,
Trixie proclaims, leaping on the opportunity Anon just provided. She turns to the changing merchant with a sly grin.
Yes, just how can you prove the quality of these manifolds, After all, we're prospective buyers. Surely you wouldn't object to a little product demonstration?
The corpulent changeling sputters indignantly.
A demonstration? I'll have you know my parts are of the highest caliber, high-made and quality tested.
He huffs, crossing his forelegs.
Then you should have no problem showing us a manifold in action,
Starlight chimes in, quickly catching on to the ploy. We have to make sure it's compatible with pony tech, after all. Wouldn't want any, accidents. The merchant grumbles, but relents under their combined scrutiny of the Encore crew.
Very well, if you insist.
He reaches under the counter, pulling out a shining new manifold, its polished casing gleaming under the bazaar lights.
Just so I happen to have a display model rigged up. Observe!
With the flick of a switch, the manifold comes to life, an eerie blue plasma coursing through its exposed components. It happens with an impressive amount of power for its size.
There, you see? Peak performance!
The changeling boasts, puffing out his chest.
With one of these beauties, you could make a hyperspace jump from one end of the galaxy to the other. Now, I believe you were saying something about 45,000 credits?
We want a demonstration on our ship. Alright, are we gonna just try to steal from the changelings? Alright. Okay, the crew of the Encore exchange nervous glances as they approach the docking bay with the changeling merchant trailing behind them. The plasma manifold tucked under his chitinous foreleg. Anonymous walks confidently alongside Trixie, but the unicorn captain herself can't quite shake the anxious flutter in her chest. She's starting to have second thoughts about letting the suspicious bug aboard their ship. As they reach the boarding ramp, Trixie clears her throat and turns to face the rotund changeling with a strained grin.
Well, here we are. Our humble vessel, the fantabulous dream ship Encore. Please, watch your step as you come aboard. The gravity plating has been a bit glitchy lately. Is that so?
The merchant comments with a raised eyebrow.
eyeing the slightly shabby-looking ship with thinly veiled disdain. Ponies have the gall to question the quality of Changeling merchandise. Very well, let's get this over with. Trixie leads the way up the ramp, her hooves clopping hollowly against the metal. She taps her horn against the keypad to open the airlock doors with a pneumatic hiss. Derpy, we're back, she calls out as she steps onto the bridge, and we brought a guest. The gray Pegasus engineer pokes her head out from behind a mass of tangled wires and blinking diodes. Her mane frazzled and a smudge of grease on her cheek. Oh, hiya, Captain. I've been working on rerouting power from the auxiliary systems to compensate for that. The wall-eyed Pegasus' gaze falls on the changeling merchant as he ducks through the doorway, and she blinks in surprise. Oh, we have a visitor? Should I put on some tea? That won't be necessary. The corpulent rug waves a dismissive hoof. I'm just here to prove to your skeptical crew that my wares are indeed compatible with this vessel. The disdain drips from his fanged maw as he glances around the cluttered bridge. Trixie forces a laugh, her hoof rubbing the back of her mane nervously. Ah, yes, well, that's very kind of you, Mr. Thorax, the changeling grunts. Mr. Thorax! Well then, shall we proceed to the engineering so you can wow us with your top-notch manifold? Thorax narrows his eyes but nods curtly. After you. And don't try anything funny. Not some native grub fresh out of the spawning pool. With that ominous warning hanging in the air, Trixie leads the way deeper into the Encore's cramped corridors, followed closely by the watchful Thorax and the rest of her uneasy crew. Well, let's get this over with. Derpy? Derpy perks up at Anonymous's prompting, and she nods eagerly, abandoning her chaotic rewiring job to trot over to the warp core housing. Righto, Nani, this is one super duper manifold installation coming right up. The klutzy Pegasus salutes with wing, nearly smacking herself in the face in the process. Thorax watches the wall-eyed mare with an unimpressed frown before turning to Trixie with a scowl. You can't be serious. This is your engineer? I've seen parasprites with more mechanical competence. The rotund changeling scoffs. Trixie laughs nervously, waving us. Don't let her unique charm fool you. Derpy's the best engineer this side of Canterlot. Why, once she fixed our quantum phase transducer with nothing but a box of paper clips and a ball of twine. The unicorn boasts, hoping Thorax can't see the sweat beading on her brow. Meanwhile, Derpy is struggling to pry open the access panel to the plasma manifold housing, her hooves scribbling against the smooth metal. Come on, you silly thing, open up for Derpy, she grunts, her tongue poking out the side of her mouth in concentration. Spike face palms before stepping forward to assist the hatless Pegasus. Here, let me help you with that. The young dragon's sharp claws make quick work of the stubborn panel, revealing the burnt-out husk of the original manifold within. Thorax's eyes widen at the sight of the squart's components. Sweet Chrysalis, when did you ponies do to that poor manifold? Looks like it was chewed up and spat out by an Ursa Major. Changeling exclaims, pushing past the kite to inspect the damage more closely, the replacement parts still clutching his hooves. Funny story about that, actually. You see, we kind of sort of maybe ran into a teensy-weeny spatial anomaly, and it might have overloaded our warp core just a smidge. Thorax stares at Starlight flatly. A teensy-weeny anomaly, huh? Must have been one hay of a hiccup to fry your manifold to this degree. Changeling says dryly before shoving the replacement part into the housing with a grunt. Well, a moment of truth. Fire up your core and let's see if this beauty can handle your ship's unique power fluctuations. Trixie bites her lip, casting a worried glance at her crew, but this is it. If the manifold can withstand the Encore's temperamental systems, they'll be right back where they started, or worse. Thorax decides he's been bamboozled and takes his anger out on them. Well, you heard the changeling, Derpy. Light this baby up, nice and slow. He's an entertaining NPC. He is kind of neat. Derpy nods enthusiastically at their captain's command for lighting the warp core's control panel. Tongue ticks out at the side of the mouth as her hoofs the ignition switch. Okie dokie, Loki, firing up the warp core in 3, 2, 1, click. With a low hum that quickly builds to a crescendo, the Encore's warp drive thumbs to life. Replacement plasma manifold glows eerie blue as it channels the immense energies of the core. Entire engineering stack seems to vibrate with barely constrained power. Thorax takes a step back, eyeing the manifold and the pulsing drive with critical gaze. Energy flow looks stable. Plasma channels are holding steady. Containment field is... Whoa! The merchant yelps as a sudden shower of sparks erupts from an overhead conduit. Derpy gasps, quickly shutting down the core before anything can catch fire. Oopsie, guess I forgot to recalibrate the electroplasma injectors. My bad. The engineer chuckles sheepishly as the manifold's glow fades. Thorax rounds on Trixie, his compound eyes narrowed in anger. Call this a successful test? Your systems are a disaster! It's a miracle this scrappy hasn't blown itself to smithereens yet. Trixie gulps, taking a step back. Now hold on, it was just a minor hiccup. Maybe if we try again. No, absolutely not. It is clear you lot have no idea what you're doing. Thorax cuts Trixie off with a slash of his hoof before turning to yank the plasma manifold out of its housing. I'm not about to leave premium changeling merchandise in the hooves of such reckless amateurs. The deal is off. What? But you can't just... Spike starts to protest, but Thorax silences the little dragon with a glare. I can and I will. Good luck finding another manifold out here, ponies. You're going to need it. With that, Thorax storms out the airlock. Replacement part in tow, leaving Trixie and her crew standing in stunned silence around the powerless warp core. Let's hire him. Now you owe us a minimally functional core. I think we got a changeling at this guy. Damn. You know, there's someone with higher authority than him that we could just give us the part we need. Just saying. If we get it good with the queen, it won't matter. Complain to his boss. Alright, screw it. Let's complain to the boss. Anon watches with disdain as the changeling salesman pony bug, I guess, sales bug, walks out with their only a hope of a replacement part in range. Great. He mutters under his breath. Seeing the dumbfounded look on Trixie's face, he's not anticipating a brave new plan from his captain, so he decides to take the reins himself. Well, looks like this just got a lot harder, he says with a disapproving glare at Derpy's little miscalibration. So, if we're gonna get the part we need, we might need to appeal to someone higher up, someone who can force his hoof. Anon says meaningfully. Trixie blinks in surprise at Anon's suggestion before a slow grin slides across her muzzle. Oh, I like the way you think, dear Anonymous. The unicorn captain chuckles, tapping her chin with a hoof. Appealing to a higher authority, huh? And who, pray tell, did you have in mind? Starlight's eyes widen as she catches on to what Anon is implying. Wait, you don't mean Queen Chrysalis herself? The purple unicorn gasps. Trixie, that's crazy! We can't just go barging into the Changeling Hive and demand an audience with their ruler? Spike nods in agreement, looking nervous. Yeah, I'm in with Starlight in this one. The Changelings aren't exactly known for their hospitality towards ponies. We'll be walking right into a Manicore's den. Derpy, meanwhile, just looks confused. Sorry, pony, who's this Chrysalis? Is she a friend of yours, Captain? The wall-eyed Pegasus asks innocently. Trixie face hooves, dragging her hoof down her face with a groan. No, Derpy, Chrysalis is not my friend. She's the queen of the changelings, you know, big bad bug who tried to take over Cancerlot that one time. He explains with strained patience. Oh, right. Derpy nods an understanding before frowning. Wait, if she's such a meaning pants, why would she help us? Trixie sighs, turning to Anonymous with a wry smile. You know what? That's a fair question. What exactly is your plan here, Nani? How do we convince the Changeling Queen to force that stingy merchant to give us the manifold? Alright. I think we offer to get her Twilight. That idea was suggested a good few messages ago, and I still like it. How do we convince the Changeling Queen to force that stingy merchant to give us the manifold? Easy. We're gonna give her something much more valuable than some old manifold. And then looks to Spike with a raised eyebrow. Can you find us where the queen resides? I'm gonna say just let me do the talking this time. Trixie. Trixie shoots in on a skeptical look, her brow furrowed as the human declares his intention to do the talking. Now hold on just a minute there, Buster. I'm the captain of the ship, and the brave and brilliant Trixie is more than capable of sweet-talking her way onto the Changeling Queen's good graces. The unicorn protests, tossing her mane proudly. Spike, however, seems more open to Anonymous's suggestion, already tapping away at his navigation console to pull up a map of the Changeling Hive. I don't know, Trix. Maybe we should let Anon take the lead on this one. No offense, but your brilliant negotiation skills are what got us into this mess in the first place. I actually know it was more Derpy's fault, but... Little Dragon points out dryly. Starlight nods in agreement, placing a hoof on Trixie's withers. Spike's got a point, Trixie. Besides, Anon seems to have some kind of ace up his sleeve. I say we trust him and see where this leads. The purple unicorn says diplomatically. Trixie grumbles but relents with a hoof. Oh, fine, have it your way. I'm warning you, Nani, if this goes south, it's on your head. She jabs a hoof at the human for emphasis. Derpy, meanwhile, just smiles brightly and Anon. I believe in you, Nani. If anybody can convince that Crackerless to help us, it's you, Crackerless. Crackerless. I didn't realize Derpy was so racist. That's Chrysalis, Derpy, Trixie corrects with a roll of her eyes before turning to Spike expectantly. Well, Navigator, have you found where her royal bugginess hangs her carapace? Spike nods, enlarging the holographic map with a graphic map with a flick of his claw. Looks like the main hive spire is smack dab in the center of the Changeling sector. Can't miss this. It's the biggest, ugliest, most ominous-looking structure around. He points to a towering organic skyscraper that seems to dominate the surrounding cityscape. Trixie blanches at this a bit at the sight of the imposing changeling stronghold, but quickly covers it with a nervous laugh. Well then, what are we waiting for? Set a course for the spire and let's get this over with. Tally-ho and all that jazz. Spike begins plotting their approach vector. Sidles up to Anonymous, her voice low. Hope you know what you're doing, Anon. Changelings can be pretty unpredictable, especially their queen. Whatever you're planning to offer her, it better be good. The wounded Encore makes a shaky but luckily uneventful flight closer to the Changeling Queen's spire. Landing with a thud, the group of the Encore approaches the entrance. I don't know. There's probably guards protecting or something. Let's see. Oh yeah, convincing Spike to go along with this plan is going to be an issue, isn't it? We'll go back and save Twilight eventually. If anything, Trixie would probably want to do that just to get a one-up over Twilight. I saved you because I'm better than you. It's very good. You could even say familiar. Anon finishes ominously. Oh, it's good. It's very good. You could even say familiar. Let's go. Anon finishes ominously. The Encore settles down on a landing pad just outside the towering spire with a clunk and a hiss of stabilizing thrusters. Crew of the Encore approach the tall, imposing doors of the Changeling Queen's spire, the dark chitinous architecture looming ominously above them. Trixie can't help but gulp nervously, her ears pinned back as she eyes the hive guards flanking the entrance, their jagged spears crossed to the doorway. Halt! State your business, ponies! One of the drones buzzes, narrowing his compound eyes at the ragtag group. His gaze lingers suspiciously on Anonymous, claiming not used to seeing a human in the company of equines. Trixie steps forward, puffing out her chest and putting on her most authoritative voice. Greetings, O most noble changeling sentries. I'm the great and powerful Trixie, captain of the starship Encore. My crew and I humbly request an audience with Her Majesty Queen Chrysalis. The unicorn declares with a flourish of her hoof. The guards exchange a skeptical look before the lead drone scoffs. The Queen does not grant audiences to just any pony who waltzes up to her door. Especially not a bunch of shabby-looking outsiders like you lot. Be gone before we throw you in the dungeon for wasting our time. Trixie's confident facade falters, and she takes a step back, biting her lip. She shoots Anonymous a pleading look, silently begging him to step in before they get tossed in Changeling jail. Chitin equals chitin. I don't believe that. That sounds ridiculous. I'm gonna look it up.
Chitin.
What the fuck? Screw that. Alright, fine. The Queen would punish you worse for denying her what we have to offer. I'm thinking just going for a power play. The Queen would punish you worse for denying her what we have to offer. For our sake and the Hive's benefit. Queen would punish you worse for denying her what we have to offer, Anonymous says, meeting the guard's gaze evenly. We need our audience for our sake and the Hive's benefit. The Changeling guards bristle at Anonymous's intimation? Is that supposed to be intimidation? What the fuck is intimation? Hint or indirect suggestion. Got it. Okay. Baring their fangs menacingly. How dare you insinuate the Queen would punish her loyal drones for following protocol? Your arrogance will be your undoing, human. The lead sentry snarls, slamming the butt of a spear against the ground with a resounding thud. Trixie flinches at the angry buzzing of the Changeling's wings, shrinking back behind Anonymous at their threatening postures. Whoops. Maybe this wasn't such a good idea after all, the unicorn captain stammers, her earlier bravado evaporating like morning dew. Spike, Starlight, and Derpy also look increasingly nervous, huddling together as the guards start to advance on the Encore crew with clear ill intent. Things are rapidly escorting towards a confrontation. Just then, a regal, imperious voice cuts through the tension like a knife. Stand down! The Changeling sentries immediately freeze before hurriedly parting to kneel in deference as a tall, imposing figure emerges from the shadows of the spire's entrance. The newcomer is an alicorn changeling, with a long, elegant horn and gossamer wings. Her carapace is a deep malevolence. Okay, is this? Yep, it is Chrysalis, so I need to fix her weird description. Malevolent black would be it. And her mane is styled in a jagged mohawk. You know what? For the sake of it's the future, sure, we'll go with a mohawk for the queen. That's kind of hilarious. Well, well, well. What have we here? Chrysalis purrs, her fangs glinting in the dim light as she steps towards the crew of the Encore, her gossamer wings buzzing behind her. She eyes the colorful little ponies with mild amusement before her gaze settles on the lone human figure. It's not often we get visitors from outside the hive, let alone ones bold enough to demand an audience with me. You must either be very brave or very foolish. She begins to slowly circle the group, her hooves clacking against the hard chitinous floor. So tell me, little ponies and strange primate, what brings you to darken my doorstep, She asks, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Surely you must have a good reason for bothering me with your presence. I'm a very busy queen, you know. She pauses in front of the blue unicorn with the gaudy hat, eyeing her up and down. Let me guess, you're the leader of this ragtag bunch? She chuckles darkly. Trixie, was it? The great and powerful captain of a third-rate freighter. She smirks. Her smirk widens, revealing sharp teeth. Blah, blah, blah. That's not generating any better. I guess we could work with this. Pet Trixie's here to assert us as if we are indeed the leader, since we are going with the power play also, so Trixie doesn't speak out of turn knowing the mayor. Anon places a hand on Trixie's mane, stilling her before she can make a poorly thought-out retort. We need something from one of your little vendors who refuses to sell green chrysalis. Anon begins, eyeing the circling queen closely. We can get you something I'm sure a mayor in your position would be very interested in return. He's straight up about knowing how to get Twiggles, Shiggles, BS Anon's backstory about being security personnel at her palace, knowing their procedures. Not the palace. Twilight has a very different profession in the future, which we have a card for that we will get into once we get there. Let's just say that to pique the queen's interest, and we'll go from there. Something I'd be very interested in, you say? Chrysalis arches an eyebrow, her curiosity piqued despite herself. She stops circling the sand directly in front of the human, looking down her nose at him imperiously. Certainly talk a big game, little ape, but I've heard many bold claims from many a pony and creature before. She leans in closer, her face inches from Anonymous's, her breath hot against his skin. Her eyes bore into his, searching for any hint of deception or weakness. I do hope for your sake you're not just spouting hot air. I don't take kindly to having my time wasted. She hisses softly, her horns starting to glow an ominous green. She holds his gaze a moment longer before abruptly pulling back with a toss of her jagged mane. Very well then, you have my attention. She turns with a snap of her tail, strutting back towards the entrance of her spire. Come, we shall continue this discussion in my throne room. She glances over her shoulder at the crew of the Encore, her eyes narrowed. Do keep your hopes and hands to yourselves while in my domain. I'd hate for any accidents to befall my guests. She chuckles darkly as she leads the way into the looming changeling stronghold, fully expecting the ponies and their pet human to follow. The sentries fall into step behind the group, their spears at the ready should any pony try anything foolish. Kiss the queen while she's that close. You're gonna get us killed, Max Raccoon. Offer Chrissy some ice cream. You're all a bunch of jokers. We follow the queen into her throne room, and I step forward as Chrysalis takes her seat. We need a plasma manifold for our ship. Get us one, and in return, we get to you, Twilight Sparkle. Anonymous says, meeting the queen's eyes. Anonymous! She hisses under her breath, shoving her snout right up against the human's ear. Ixnay on the kidnapping K Twilight Tway. I like Tway. Are you trying to get us all killed? The blue unicorn swallows nervously as she glances over at Chrysalis, who is positively gleeful at the prospect of capturing her old nemesis. Trixie tugs on Anonymous's sleeve insistently. Come on, surely there's got to be something else we can offer her bugness besides our friend? Like, I don't know, bits, gems, embarrassing full pictures of Princess Celestia? Trixie's heart hammers in her chest as Chrysalis's fanged grin widens. The Changeling Queen looks like a cat that's just been promised a whole flock of canaries. I can already tell this isn't going to end well, Trixie mutters under her breath. Why did I let you do the talking again? Then Claude says Claude doesn't think Trixie would go along with kidnapping Twilight even to save her own flank. Prideful and boastful, but not outright villainous. Chrysalis's eyes widen and her grin stretches from ear to ear at the human's proposition. She can scarcely believe what she's hearing. Twilight Sparkle, you say? She repeats, leaning forward eagerly on her throne. Her hopes tapping together in wicked glee. My, that is quite the tempting offer. She rises from her seat, striding slowly towards Anonymous. Behind him, she can see Trixie and the other ponies shifting nervously, clearly uneasily with the direction this negotiation is taking. But she pays them no mind, her attention solely focused on the delicious opportunity presenting itself. You would really betray your precious princess of friendship and deliver her to me, all for a measly ship part. She purrs, circling the human like a hungry shark. I must say I'm impressed by your ruthlessness. I didn't think your ponies had it in you. She pauses, tapping a hoof against her chin thoughtfully. But how do I know this isn't some kind of trick? Twilight and her little pals would have thwarted my plans time and time again. They're an annoyingly resourceful bunch. She narrows her eyes suspiciously at Anonymous. What guarantee do I have that you can actually pull this off? Tell her she could come with us. Wasn't our fault. The airlock was open. Come with us, Anon says. What better reassurance could you have than overseeing the operation? As long as Twilight
Doesn't know you're with us. All will go smoothly. Well, we're still in negotiation. GS, I'm sure Chrysalis will do something to ensure her own safety. Chrysalis muses, tapping a hoof against her chin as she considers the proposal. Allowing them to whisk her away from her hive to oversee this little scheme is certainly a bold request. It would leave her vulnerable, out of her element, but the chance to finally have Twilight sparkle in her clutches is oh so tempting. Her eyes glitter with malicious glee as she pictures it, the look on that prissy princess's face as she realizes she's been betrayed. The despair in her eyes as she cocoons her in changeling slime. Delicious love she'll drain from her as she withers away in her dungeon. She is very well, human. You have yourself a deal. She purrs, her grin stretching wide to reveal her fangs. I will accompany you and your little pony friends on this covert operation, and once you deliver Twilight Sparkle to me, you shall have your precious plasma manifold. Wait, no, we need the manifold first to actually go anywhere. Fetch my royal traveling cloak and alert the hive that I will be indisposed for a short while. My top generals are in charge until I return, with a shiny new alicorn to drain if all goes well. She chuckles darkly. Lay a fake distress signal for the Twilight in our ship. Facing Anonymous and the crew once more, she rubs her hopes together eagerly. I'm simply buzzing with anticipation to see how you pull off this delightful little betrayal. That's a pun. Oh, and Trixie was it? She grins at the nervous blue unicorn eyes flashing. Do keep your protests to yourself, We wouldn't want that silver tongue of yours to get you in trouble. After all, accidents can happen so easily out in the cold, dark depths of space. She chuckles ominously before turning to stride towards the Encore. This is going to be fun. That's why there's a book burning planned. Returns to their stations. Hoping there's more to this plan than meets the eye. Okay. Traveling away from the Changeling station, Encore heads into deep space where the plan begins. We could also just pull a double cross and turn Chrysalis into Twilight. Get her arrested. That would be really funny. A distress signal begins emanating. I spelled it wrong. Emanating out from the Encore's sensors. I'll just say from the Encore. Oh yeah, the Bug Queen is with us. We have a bug in our ship systems. Activate the distress beacon. Spike. Yeah, Spike works. Trixie glances nervously between Anon and the Changeling Queen as Spike activates the distress beacon. Her heart hammers in her chest. Still aghast that she let Nani talk her into this crazy stream. Betraying Twilight of all ponies was against everything the Princess of Friendship stands for. I really hope you know what you're doing, Nani, she hisses through clenched teeth. Because if this is some kind of double cross, I swear Celestia, I'll blast you out of the airlock myself. Trixie's no traitor. Trixie's gaze darts over to the disguised Changeling Queen, who is eyeing the distress beacon controls with a mix of suspicion and dark eagerness. Shomare suppresses a shudder. What an equestria has she gotten herself and her crew into? I mean it, Anon. Trixie whispers urgently, her violet eyes wide and pleading. Please tell me you have a plan to get us out of this mess that doesn't involve sacrificing Twilight to that overgrown bug. I don't think I could live with myself if I actually went through with it. Captain worries her lower lip with her teeth, ears pinned back anxiously. For once, the brash and boastful Trixie looks genuinely scared, and rightly so. Fate of not just her ship, but her very friendship with Twilight hangs in the balance. And Steel Wings. Let's see what the crew of the Alicorn has to say. Twilight blinks in surprise as the Alicorn's sensors pick up a faint distress beacon on the fringes of their scanning range. The Lavender Alicorn frowns, her brow furrowing in concern. That's strange. We're light years away from any major trade routes. What could another ship be doing all the way out here? She mutters to herself, her hooves already dancing across the controls as she tries to zero in on the signal's location. Hey Twilight, what you got there? Rainbow Dash asks, trotting over to peer at the blinking light on the view screen. Pegasus's wings twitch in excitement. The prospect of a potential rescue mission is just the kind of action she's been craving. A distress beacon? Twilight replies distractedly, her horn glowing as she magically adjusts the sensors for better reception. But I can't seem to get a fix on what kind of ship it is. The signal's pretty weak. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go check it out. Oh wait, that's Applejack. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go check it out. Applejack chimes in from her station, ever the helpful farm pony. Some pony's in trouble, it's only right we land a hoof. Twilight nods, determination glinting in her purple eyes. Applejack's right. Whoever's out there, they might need our help. Rarity, set a course for the beacon's coordinates. Fluttershy, prep the med bay just in case. We don't know what state the crew might be in. As her friends scramble to follow her orders, Twilight can shake the niggling feeling in her gut that something about this situation seems off. Rainbow, keep an eye on the sensors. If anything looks suspicious, I want to know about it. You got it, Twilight. The chromatic Pegasus salutes crisply before zipping over to the scanning array. The Alicorn's engines rumble to life as the ship banks towards the origin of the mysterious distress signal, ready to render aid to the unknown vessel. But Twilight can't help the unease prickling at her coat. Out here in the depths of space, any number of dangers could be lurking. I forgot, Rainbow Dash is like an elite fighter pilot, so we might have to deal with that, but otherwise, things are moving along. Problems for later. So the plan of this whole operation was to turn Twilight into Chrysalis. We could just do the opposite and give Chrysalis to Twilight, which would be really funny. So current situation, we are fanning a distress beacon on the Encore. Twilight is approaching with her crew. Trixie chews her lip nervously, fighting to keep her expression neutral under Chrysalis's piercing gaze. As they wait for Twilight to take the bait, she shoots Anon a pleading look when the Changeling Queen isn't looking, silently begging him to have a plan that doesn't involve actually betraying their friend. Just then, Spike calls out from the navigation console. Guys, the Alicorn just changed course. They're heading right for us. Trixie's heart leaps into her throat. Part of her is relieved that Twilight is rushing to help what she thinks is a ship in distress. But the rest of her is terrified of what will happen when the princess realizes it's a trap. Remember, Anon, we need Twilight alive and unharmed if we're going to pull this off, she hisses under her breath. Don't trust Chrysalis as far as I can buck her. Tromare takes a deep breath, squaring her shoulders as she puts on a mask of calm confidence. She has to trust that her human friend knows what he's doing. Trixie would never forgive herself if she led Twilight into real danger. Alright, everybody, look sharp! Let's put on a good show for her bugness and get that manifold, the captain declares loudly, hoping her voice doesn't tremble. Trixie turns to Anonymous, her eyes silently pleading. I hope you know what you're doing, she whispers too low for Chrysalis to hear. We could reassure her simply and quietly, at least. Anon gives a reassuring nod to Trixie as the Alicorn closes the distance. The Alicorn drops out of warp, the misty shape of the Encore coming into view through the forward viewports. What was I saying? I was saying something before. Oh yeah, Twilight technically does fly, not like a full-on capital ship, but the Alicorn is something that houses other smaller ships for certain that have their own tasks. It is a carrier of sorts. The Encore coming into view through the forward viewports. Twilight frowns as she takes in the side of the other ship. It doesn't seem to be showing any obvious signs of distress. No plasma venting from ruptured conduits, no escape pods jettisoning. That's odd. These ships look intact. I wonder why they activated their emergency beacon. The Lavender Alicorn muses aloud, a hoof tapping thoughtfully against her chin. Applejack squints at the vessel, her green eyes widening in recognition. Wait just an apple-picking minute. Ain't that Trixie's ship? Rainbow Dash zooms over to get a better look, hovering in midair. Hey, yeah. AJ's right. That's definitely the Encore. What's the deal, Twilight? Twilight's frown deepens, a trickle of unease running down her spine. Something doesn't feel right about this situation. Just then, the comms crackle to life. Twilight? Twilight, is that you? Trixie's voice comes through, sounding strained and oddly nervous. The Princess of Friendship quickly trots over to the comm panel, concern writ large on her features. Trixie! Yes, it's me. We picked up on your distress beacon. Is everything okay? What's going on? There's a pause, static crackling over the line before Trixie replies. Just had a little engine trouble, that's all, but, we could really use your help. Twilight shares an uneasy glance with her friends. Trixie's never been the best liar, and right now it's obvious she's hiding something. Rarity clears her throat delicately. Darling, are you quite certain everything's all right over there? You sound rather on edge. Who, me? On edge? No, I promise it's nothing. I, the brave and daring Trixie, can't handle. Chomare's forced bravado does little to reassure any pony. Twilight takes a deep breath, steadying herself. Even if something seems off, Trixie's still her friend and friends help each other. Alright, Trixie, sit tight. We're on our way to help. Every pony with me. The princess leads her friends towards the Alicorn's airlock, ready to board the Encore and get to the bottom of whatever mess Trixie's gotten into this time. She just hopes it's not more than they can handle. Alright, what's the plan from now? Twilight and friends are coming aboard the Encore, it seems. They do outnumber us by a lot. We probably can't just capture Twilight. Betray Bug, acquire friends. Fine, let's do it. Trixie... Anon watches as Trixie makes the comms message, adding quietly just before cutting comms. Come armed. Let's just say that. A wave of icy dread washes over Twilight at Trixie's cryptic warning. Come armed? Just what in Celestia's name has the Shomer gotten herself into this time? The Lavender Unicorn trots over to the ship's armory, her mind racing with worst-case scenarios. The Encore under attack by space pirates, changelings, some new alien menace they've never encountered before.
Twilight, what's going on? Applejack asks, concern clear as she follows the princess. What did Trixie say that's got you looking paler than an apple book during Zap Apple season? Twilight takes a deep breath, steeling herself. I don't know, AJ. Whatever trouble Trixie's in, it sounds serious. She said to come armed. The alicorn's horn glows as she levitates blasters and stun batons to each of her friends. Fluttershy squeaks nervously, fumbling with the weapon. Oh my, you don't really think we'll need these, do you? I hope not, Fluttershy, but I'd rather be prepared for anything. Twilight's jaw sets in grim determination as she straps a blaster to her own barrel. Trixie may be boastful and misguided at times, but she's still a friend, and Twilight will be damned if she lets harm come to any of her friends. Alright, girls, stay sharp and stick together. We don't know what we're flying into, the princess orders as they step into the airlock. Remember, whatever happens, we face it as a team. No pony gets left behind. The main six nod solemnly, hooves and wings at the ready as the airlock cycles open with a hiss of decompression. Weapons primed and senses on high alert, they cautiously board the Encore, bracing themselves for anything. Chrysalis's lips curl into a fanged grin as she watches the ponies of the Alicorn cautiously board the Encore through narrowed eyes. Just too perfect, Twilight and her little friends walking right into her trap like the naive fools they are. She turns to Anonymous, her voice a wicked purr. Well done, my little primate. Seems your plan to lure the princess here is working perfectly. Her horn glows with sickly green light as she rubs her hooves together in anticipation. You can practically taste the love I'll soon drain from dear Twilight already. Her gaze darts over to Trixie, who is failing miserably at hiding her apprehension. Chrysalis chuckles darkly, relishing the unicorn's discomfort. What's the matter, brave and daring Trixie? Don't tell me you're getting cold hooves now after you've come so far. Wouldn't it be a shame if all your efforts to save this rock bucket you call a ship were for nothing? She leans in close, her breath hot against the showmare's ear. Just remember your deal. You and their little crew get me Twilight, and I'll give you your precious plasma manifold. Every pony wins. She smirks, her fangs glinting. Well, except for poor Princess Sparkle, of course. But that's not your problem now, is it? A cruel laugh escapes her as she pulls back, her eyes flashing with malevolent glee. So chin up, my little ponies, it's showtime, and if all goes well... She licks her lips, her tongue snaking out hungrily. I'll finally have everything I ever wanted. Equestria will be mine, and Twilight will be nothing but a shriveled, loveless husk. She turns back to the view screen eagerly, her wings buzzing in anticipation of the delicious betrayal to come. Those foolish ponies won't know what hit them. So she's fully convinced this is a trap. In her favor. Hubris. Maybe a touch of it, yes. Alright, let's let Twilight and her crew nervously trot through the airlock onto the Encore, their eyes narrowing as they scan the dimly lit corridor before them. The Lavender Alicorn Princess keeps her horn aglow with the magical energy, ready to react at the first sign of danger. Trixie? She calls out cautiously, her ears swiveling. We're here! Where are you? An uneasy silence is her only answer. Ponies exchange worried glances. I don't like this, Rainbow Dash mutters, fluttering her wings. It's too quiet. Stay sharp, every pony. They cautiously advance down the hallway, hooves clopping softly against the metal deck plates. The ship's interior shows clear signs of disrepair, sparking control panels, leaking conduits, flickering lights. So what has Trixie gotten herself into? Suddenly a dark chuckle echoes throughout the corridor, sinister and familiar. Twilight and her friends freeze in their tracks, eyes wide. It can't be. From the shadows ahead, a pair of glowing green eyes pierce the gloom. A tall, imposing figure steps into the light, her black carapace glinting wickedly. Hello, Twilight Sparkle. Green Chrysalis purrs, her fanged grin dripping with malice. So nice of you to finally join us. Twilight's horn flares brighter as she takes a defensive stance, shielding her friends behind her spread wings. Chrysalis, I should have known you were behind this. The Changeling Queen laughs cruelly, her own twisted horn igniting with sickly emerald fire. Oh, not just me, dear princess. You have your little show pony friend to thank for this delightful reunion as well. Trixie and her crew emerge from the shadows behind Chrysalis, their expressions rating from nervous to downright ashamed. I think instead of that, we go for a weapons locker while Chrysalis is busy doing her gloating and acting like she's already won. It's an alien! Oh no, it's just Chrysalis. Just a weird bug. Usually get the two confused. Wrench, much more visual. Oh no. The idea just to bonk the buggo. It was nice of her to dramatically announce herself and her evil ploy instead of actually ambushing Twilight and friends. Yeah, you know, she can't resist. Chrysalis has smug villain syndrome. Very bad. I get the attention of the rest of the Encores. Wait, not I. Anon gets the attention. Gets the attention of the rest of the Encore's crew, leading them into the weapons locker on the bridge. Quietly, he pulls it open, making himself armed before turning his
Gaze back to Chrysalis. Gaze, I don't know, determined, steely. Steely we'll go with. Time for a cool one-liner from Anon.
Looks like this bug just got caught up in a web. Time to get into your cocoon, little butterfly. Wait, no, that comes off too flirty.
But Creed doesn't yet seem to realize. Betray her seductively. Well, we're just gonna say this, and then we'll go to... Trixie's eyes widen as she sees Anonymous quietly arming himself and the rest of the Encore's crew from the weapons locker. Her heart pounds in her chest, a mix of fear and desperate hope. Is he really planning to double-cross Chrysalis? It's beyond risky, but if any pony can pull it off, it's her clever human friend. Shomare takes a shaky breath, stealing her nerves. She has to trust Anon knows what he's doing. Trixie could never forgive herself if she let that overgrown bug hurt Twilight. Princess of Friendship may be Trixie's rival, but she's also the closest thing the Azure Unicorn has to a true friend. Trixie suddenly catches Anonymous's eye, giving him the barest of nods. She'll follow his lead, whatever crazy scheme he's cooked up. Great and powerful Trixie is no coward, after all. Squaring her shoulders, the captain trots over to join Anon, keeping one eye on Chrysalis as the Changeling Queen gloats over her apparent victory. Trixie mentally reviews every illusion spell she knows, ready to create a distraction if needed. Hope you have an ace up your sleeve, Nani, she whispers out the corner of her mouth, her voice barely audible over the thumb of the engines. If this goes wrong, we're all bug bait. Unicorn's hoof hovers over her own blaster, praying to Celestia that Anon's plan works. Trixie will never be able to look Twilight in the eye again if they betray her to Chrysalis. The moment of truth, whatever happens next will decide just not the fate of the Encore, but the very bounds of friendship itself. Anon gives Twilight a wink as they stand behind the still blindly gloating bug, our weapons raised at her. There. Maybe go there, weapons raised at her. Shiggy diggy, there we go. We'll give Chrysalis one chance to respond, and then we'll go to the steel wings. Chrysalis grins malevolently, too focused on taunting Twilight to notice what's behind her.
Oh, isn't this just delicious? The look on your face, Twilight Sparkle. That dawning realization that you've been betrayed, led into a trap by some pony you foolishly thought was your friend. She cackles wildly, her eyes flashing with cruel glee. How does it feel, Princess, to know that your precious friendship has failed you? That Captain Trixie values her own hide more than your trust? She sneers, reveling in Twilight's shock and hurt. You ponies are so pathetically naive. Did you really think the bonds of friendship would save you here, in the cold depths of space? Out here, it's to every mare for herself, a lesson you're about to learn the hard way. She chuckles darkly, her horn starting to glow an ominous green. But don't worry, my little pony. I'll take good care of you in my dungeons while you wither away. You'll love feeding my hive. I'll savor every delicious moment of your despair. She grins cruelly, finally turning around. And as for you, Trixie, I must commend you on your ruthless— What? Her eyes widen in shock to see the Encore's crew, armed and aiming their weapons straight at her. Trixie, what is the meaning of this treachery? We had a deal! That's really good, really well written. She mocked our quesadilla assault plan in another universe. It's only fair. That's true. I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it further. The only treachery here is yours, Chrysalis, Trixie declares boldly, her horn sparkling with magical energy as she aims her blaster squarely at the Changeling Queen. Do you really think the great and powerful Trixie would ever betray her friends, that I would sell out Twilight after everything we've been through together? I may be a showmare under bracket, but I am no traitor. Twilight has shown me the true magic of friendship, something a heartless creature like you could never understand. Showmare risks a glance over at Twilight, her expression softening. Sorry for deceiving you, Twilight, but it was the only way to lure this monster into our trap. Can you ever forgive me? Twilight stares at Trixie in shock, her mind reeling from the revelation that she saw an elaborate ruse to capture Chrysalis. Part of her is hurt and angry that Trixie would deceive her like this, even if it was for a good cause. Trust is the cornerstone of friendship, and the showmare's trickery cuts deep. And yet, as Twilight looks into Trixie's pleading eyes, she can see the genuine regret and desperation there. The Azure Unicorn truly believed this was the only way to stop Chrysalis, even if it meant temporarily betraying Twilight's trust. Can the Princess of Friendship really falter for that? Taking a deep breath, Twilight steps forward, her horn glowing as she telekinetically restrains the snarling Changeling Queen. I understand why you did it, Trixie, and while I wish you had been honest with me from the start, I know your heart was in the right place. You were trying to protect Equestria and me. I can't be angry at you for that. And then Chrysalis is captured. She owes us a date. I don't know if I like this particular response. I might go for another swipe. His true plan revealed all along. Date Trixie. Of course. Twilight reels in shock, her eyes darting between Chrysalis and Trixie, her heart pounding in her chest. Her emotions war within her, hurt, betrayal, anger, but also a faint glimmer of hope at seeing her friends standing united against the Changeling Queen. The Licorn Princess takes a shaky breath, steadying herself. She steps forward to stand beside Trixie. Really had me going there for a minute, Trix. I thought you turned your back on friendship, on me. Twilight shakes her erratic, rueful smile tugging at her lips. Should have known better. Should have trusted that the pony who stood by me through thick and thin would never betray me.
Her expression hardens as she turns to glare at Chrysalis, her horn flaring with brilliant amethyst light. You underestimate the magic of friendship, Chrysalis. It's not a weakness, it's our greatest strength, a strength you'll never know. Changeling Queen seethes, her fangs bared in the snarl of pure rage. Foolish little ponies, you really think this changes anything? I am Creed Chrysalis. I will not be denied my... Oh, put a hoof in it, you overgrown roach. Oh, put a hoof in it, you overgrown roach. Dash cuts her off, zooming forward to hover menacingly in front of the queen. Flash aimed right between her eyes. The rest of the main six step forward as well, forming a united front with the Encore's crew. Weapons hum with power, horns crackle with magic, wings flare in challenge. It's over, Chrysalis, Twilight says firmly, authority ringing in her voice. You've lost. Surrender now, and I promise you'll face a fair trial for your crimes against Equestria. Or we can do this the hard way. Your choice. Yep, Artie is not having any of it. Hibbity hobbity, Bug Queen gets enslaved and becomes our property. Oh no. Ask Trixie out on space dates. Is that how we want to end it? Alright, fine. Let's see. Eventually, Chrysalis relents for realizing she's heavily outnumbered. Then turns to Twilight, giving a smirk. Go back for Derpy. Derpy is for petting and hugging. Trixie is for lewd. Taps an arm around Trixie's side, close, and meeting her eyes. And then we're gonna spend it somewhere nice, just you and me. That should work. Okay, what? Trixie says furiously, stammering as Anonymous wraps an arm around her and pulls her close. The unicorn's heart races at the intimate contact, but she forces herself to focus. Ah, you can't be serious! This is under her breath. This is hardly the time for it. Trixie trails off, biting her lip as she meets Anon's gaze. The intensity in his eyes makes her weaken in knees. No, she has to stay strong. Twilight is counting on her. I am flattered, Anon, really, but we have more pressing matters to attend to first. She turns to Twilight, tipping her head apologetically. I'm so sorry for all this deception, Twilight. Never meant to hurt you, I just didn't know what else to do. Chrysalis had us over a barrel. The unicorn glances over at the seething Changeling Queen, who's glaring daggers at all of them. But thanks to your friendship, we were able to turn the tables on her. Blah, 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 you saved the day. Don't deserve it, can you forgive me? And so on. I want to give it one more swipe just to see if it can do better. This is hardly the time or place. Minor personal matters aside, I believe we've earned that bounty, Princess. Plus we can discuss the, spending it somewhere nice part later. Trixie mumbles under her breath, cheek still flushed as she tries not to meet Anon's eyes. Okay, that works. And our warp drive is not kaput, we have it installed. That was the whole point of all this silliness. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll give Twilight one more chance to respond, and then we'll probably call it good. Call it a stream. Twilight nods, her expression softening at Trixie's mention of the bounty. Of course, Trixie, you and your crew will be duly compensated for your assistance in bringing Chrysalis to justice. Equestria owes you a debt of gratitude. The Alicorn Princess ignites her horn, conjuring a set of magic and will find manacles that snap themselves around the Changeling Queen's hooves and wings. Chrysalis hisses in impotent rage, but is powerless to resist. We'll take it from here. Rainbow Dash, Applejack, please escort our guest to the Alicorn's brig. Keep a close eye on her. I don't want any shape-shifting shenanigans on the way to Canterlot. As the two mares lead a seething Chrysalis away, Twilight turns back to Trixie with a smile. Thank you again, Trixie, for proving that our friendship is stronger than any of Chrysalis's schemes. Should have never doubted you. Trixie could hardly let her greatest rival come to harm now, could she? You still owe me a rematch after all, she chuckles weakly, clearly embarrassed. Suppose I do, but first, I believe you and your special somebody had some celebration plans to discuss. Don't let me keep you. So, I guess now I am going to release this card in case anyone else wants to... Alright, yeah, I think this is a good place to end off the story, so thank you everybody for joining, and I'll talk to you all later.